They don't understand. They never did. You've always carried a weight that no one else could feel, a heaviness in your chest that made breathing hard, made living even harder. But they don't see that. They only saw a shadow of who you truly are. They laughed when you broke, and they smirked at your silence. They didn't know the war that raged inside of you. They didn't know how many nights you spent questioning your worth, wondering why you were still breathing when the world had already moved on. You tried. You always tried. But no matter how much you pushed, no matter how much you gave, it was never enough. They laughed when you fell. They mocked you when you struggled to get up, as if your pain was a joke, a game to be played. The darkness wrapped around you like a cold blanket, suffocating, isolating. You couldn't escape. No matter where you turned, there was nothing but emptiness. The voices, they didn't stop. The whispers of doubt, the cruel remark, the expectations that crushed you under their weight. They said you weren't enough. They said you couldn't make it. They said you were weak. And you believed them, didn't you? You believed them because it was easier to believe their lies than face the terrifying truth that you were meant for more, but instead you were here, trapped in the shadows, an afterthought to the world that was too busy moving on without you. You remember the moment when everything felt like it shattered, the moment they all turned their backs, the moment they abandoned you without a second thought. You can still hear their voices in your head, mocking you as you stumbled through the pain. What did you think would happen? They asked. You're weak. You're never going to make it. They didn't care. They never did. All the ones you thought you could count on, gone. The ones who swore they'd be there, vanished. The pain of rejection, the sting of betrayal. It burned like fire, and yet it was cold, freezing you in place. You begged, silently, for just one moment of kindness. Just one moment where someone would reach out and say, I see you, I understand. But instead you were met with silence, cold and empty. You remember the nights when you collapsed, face buried in the pillow, tears soaking through the fabric, but no one was there to hear. The loneliness was deafening. The isolation was suffocating. In those moments when you thought you couldn't breathe, you asked yourself, why bother? Why keep going? Maybe it would be easier if I just gave in. Because the pain was so raw, so relentless, it whispered in your ear, convincing you that surrendering was the only way to escape. But deep down, you knew something else, something that kept you from giving up, even when the world had given up on you. The weight of their rejection felt like 1,000 tons pressing down on your chest. You could feel their eyes on you, judging you, laughing at you. Even when they weren't there, the whispers echoed through your mind, louder than anything else. They turned their backs, and you were left standing alone, abandoned by the very people who should have been your refuge. They didn't see you. They didn't see the fire that still burned within, hidden beneath the layers of fear and doubt, number. They only saw what they wanted to see, and they saw weakness. But the hardest part wasn't the mocking, wasn't the laughter. No, the hardest part was that you started to believe it, too. You began to doubt yourself. You began to wonder if maybe they were right. Maybe you were never going to make it. Maybe you didn't have what it took. You let their words sink in. You let them define you. And every time you looked in the mirror, you saw the same face, the face of someone who had failed, who had given up, who was lost. But that's the thing, isn't it? You weren't lost. You were just buried under the weight of everyone else's expectations, everyone else's judgment. They thought you were nothing. They thought you would break. But they didn't see the strength that was silently growing inside of you. They didn't see the rage, the fire that was waiting for the right moment to explode. They didn't see you. Not really. They saw a broken soul. But what they didn't know, what they could never know, is that brokenness is where strength is born. And in that quiet desperation, when you stood on the edge ready to surrender, something shifted. A small, almost imperceptible shift. The smallest whisper of resistance. Something deep inside told you, not yet. You weren't ready to give up. Not yet. You still had something left to fight for. Even if you couldn't see it clearly, You didn't know how, you didn't know when, but you knew something deep within. This wasn't the end. You weren't done, not yet. You would rise, and when you did, the world would be forced to take notice. Even in the darkest hours, when the world seemed to have forgotten you, and you were buried beneath layers of sorrow, there was a whisper. It was faint, almost imperceptible at first, but it never truly left. It was the voice of defiance, the voice of a spirit that refused to die, no matter how heavy the weight. That whisper said, "Not yet." In the suffocating silence amidst the brokenness, you heard it, just enough to remind you that you weren't finished. You weren't done. That voice, it was the spark, the first flicker of resistance against everything that told you to quit. It wasn't loud, it wasn't bold, it was quiet, subtle, like the softest ember that refused to be extinguished, but it was there, and in that moment, you clung to it, however weak it seemed, because it was all you had left. The quiet reminder that there was still something inside you fighting, even when you had no strength left to give. That spark wasn't enough to ignite an inferno just yet. No, not yet. But it was enough to keep you moving, enough to keep you breathing, even when the world seemed to be moving against you. The world didn't see it. They didn't hear the whisper, the small act of resistance growing stronger inside of you. But you knew. You knew that no matter how slow, no matter how hard it was, you could still survive. It was as if each breath you took was an act of rebellion, a declaration that you wouldn't be claimed by the darkness. Not yet. And so inch by inch, you moved. You crawled. Every step was agony. Every movement felt like it tore open old wounds, dragging you further into the pain. But somehow, in that very pain, you found your strength. The fire burned, yes, but it burned with a purpose. It wasn't a fire that destroyed. It was a fire that forged. Every scrape, every bruise, every tear only served to sharpen your mind, to toughen your heart. You were no longer the person who had been crushed beneath the weight of their doubts and fears. No, you were becoming something else. You were hardening. You were evolving. Pain was no longer your enemy. It was your teacher. It was showing you the way, slowly, methodically, every bruise a lesson, every scar a victory. There were days when you could barely breathe, let alone move forward, and there were moments when the weight of the world felt like it might swallow you whole. But each day you survived was a silent victory. It was proof that they hadn't won, that they hadn't crushed you completely. Every day you woke up, despite the odds, was an act of rebellion. You didn't ask for permission to survive. You didn't need anyone's approval. You didn't care whether they noticed or not. You simply lived, and in doing so, you fought. Each breath you took was another breath they couldn't take from you. You were surviving against all the odds, and that was power. In the silence, while the world carried on unaware, something was happening inside of you. You were growing, even when no one was watching, in the absence of applause, in the emptiness of validation. You were building something stronger than anything they could ever give you. You were building your own identity, your own strength. The world had left you to rot in isolation, but in that isolation, you found the space to rebuild yourself. You found the time to sharpen your mind, to harden your heart, to grow. Transformation doesn't happen in the light, where everyone can see it. It happens in the shadows, in the moments where you are alone, struggling against the tide. It's in those moments that the true strength is born, not from praise or admiration, but from grit, determination, and the relentless will to survive. You weren't looking for anyone to tell you that you were doing well. You didn't need anyone to congratulate you for waking up another day, for pushing through another wave of pain. You didn't need anyone's approval to prove your worth. You knew, deep down, that the strength you were building in the dark was the only thing that mattered. You didn't need the world to recognize it. You didn't need their permission. You were doing it for yourself, and that was enough. You were becoming something more, something unbreakable, one day at a time, one step at a time, no matter how painful, no matter how slow. And the the world would see. When the time came, they would see what you had built in silence. They would see the fire that had been kindled in the darkest of nights. They would see the strength that had been forged in the crucible of your pain. They would see that you were no longer the person they thought you were. You were more. You had always been more, and you were ready to show them. You were shattered once, broken beyond recognition, or so they thought. But in the quiet, when the noise of the world faded, something inside you shifted. The pain didn't stop. It didn't vanish. But you no longer allowed it to define you. No longer would you be the person who crumbled at every blow, who shrank in the face of adversity. No, in that quiet, when no one was watching, you made a decision to rise, a decision to stand, not because you were healed, not because you were fixed, but because you were unbreakable. They had laughed at your pain. They had thought you weak. But the truth was, you had always been strong. You had just forgotten. It was time to remember. This wasn't a moment of grand, dramatic revelation. There were no fireworks, no fanfare. It wasn't an easy choice. There were no promises of smooth sailing ahead. The weight of your past, your failures, and the broken pieces of your heart were still there, waiting to drag you back into the abyss. But this time you stood. It was just you, facing your own reflection, daring to believe that you could be more than what they had tried to make you. You didn't need their approval. You didn't need their validation. All you needed was the quiet determination that came from within. And so you stood, not because you were healed, but because you were unbreakable. You had been forged in fire, and no one could take that from you. The moment you faced yourself in the mirror, you saw the war that had been raging within for so long. You saw the bruises, the scars, the brokenness. You saw the reflection of someone who had been defeated, who had been pushed to the edge and beyond. But what you saw wasn't weakness. What you saw was strength, hiding behind the layers of fear and doubt, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And in that moment, you chose to fight. You didn't choose to fight against the world. You chose to fight against the person who had been living in fear. You chose to fight against the villain who had whispered to you that you were never enough. And in doing so, you became the villain in your own story, the villain of fear, the villain of self-doubt, the villain of every voice that had told you that you couldn't. You didn't fight to become someone else. You fought to become yourself, the person who had always been there, hidden beneath the rubble of other people's expectations. You fought to reclaim your identity, to take back control of your own narrative. The world had tried to define you, to tell you who you were, but you weren't their creation. You were your own, and so you chose to rise. You chose to face the darkness within and to transform it into your greatest weapon. In the silence, away from the spotlight, you began your training. No one was there to see your struggle. No one was there to cheer you on. But that was exactly how you wanted it. This wasn't for them. It wasn't for their applause, their recognition, or their approval. It was for you. It was for the warrior that was being born in the shadows. No one saw the hours you spent pushing yourself, battling against your own weakness, battling against the remnants of fear and doubt. It was just you, in the dark, working tirelessly to become someone else, but not someone new, someone who had always been there, waiting to be awakened. Every rep, every set, every moment of exhaustion was a strike against their laughter, a defiant response to their mocking. You were no longer the person they had laughed at. You were becoming someone they would never recognize. You were becoming the warrior, and in that process, you began to forge yourself into a weapon. Not a weapon of destruction, but a weapon of survival, a weapon of power. Your pain didn't disappear, but it no longer had the same hold on you. It became part of your strength, part of your armor. The scars, the brokenness, they weren't signs of weakness anymore. They were reminders of everything you had survived, everything you had overcome. Each scar was a testament to your resilience, each pain a lesson learned. You didn't hide from your past. You wore it proudly, as the armor that protected your future. You had become your own weapon, and when the world finally saw you, they would see a force that could not be moved, a force that could not be stopped. You had been forged in the darkness, and you were now ready to face whatever came next. The world you once knew, the people who turned their backs, the ones who laughed, they don't recognize you now. And that's exactly how you wanted it. You're not the same person you were when they abandoned you. You're not the same person they mocked when you fell. They thought they had broken you, thought they had discarded you like a used thing. But the truth is, they never knew you. Not really. They only saw the surface, the pieces they could manipulate, the cracks they could exploit. They never saw the fire that burned beneath, the strength that was waiting to rise. And now, as you step back into the world, you step in with a new purpose. They can't see you for what you are because they are still blinded by the illusion of who they thought you were. And that's fine. You don't need them to recognize you. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation, because now you are unshakable. You are unstoppable. And whether they see it or not, you're back to claim what is yours, and the world will tremble beneath your feet. You walk through the same doors you once stood behind, through the same spaces that used to suffocate you. But now, you carry a different presence. You're no longer the person who walked in with their head down, their heart heavy. No, now you stand tall, with the weight of everything you've overcome propelling you forward. And they can't help but feel it. They feel the shift in the air when you step into the room. They don't know who you are anymore, and that's exactly what you've wanted. Because this isn't about them. It's not about seeking their recognition. It's about taking back control of your own story. And they won't even know what hit them. They'll see your presence, and they'll wonder how they ever thought they could break you. But by the time they understand, it will be too late. You'll already be gone, on your way to claim the life that's always been yours. The time has come to face them, the ones who doubted you, the ones who laughed at your pain, the ones who watched as you struggled and turned their backs when you needed them most. They'll be the first to feel your strength, not because you want revenge, but because they need to understand something. You are not the person they thought you were. You never were. They thought they could break you, but they only made you stronger. And now, you stand in front of them, not with anger, not with vengeance, but with undeniable power. You've done the work. You've earned this moment. You don't need to prove anything to them. The truth of your strength is in your present, in your unshakable conviction. There's no need for words of retaliation. There's no need to shout, to scream, to fight. Your strength speaks for itself. When you look them in the eye, they see the fire that they never noticed before, the fire that had always been there but was hidden beneath layers of doubt and fear. They'll see the person who was once their joke, the one they dismissed as weak. But now, they'll see someone entirely different, someone who has been forged in the flames of their rejection, their mockery, and their abandonment. You are a force to be reckoned with. You are the storm they never saw coming. And when you speak, when you act, it will be undeniable. Your voice will shake the ground beneath them. Your actions will command respect, not because you demand it, but because you've earned it. You are no longer the one who shrinks away. You are the one who rises, and the world has no choice but to watch. And when you speak, you will not ask for their forgiveness. You will not beg for their acceptance. You will not apologize for the person you've become, for the strength you've found, for the fire that burns within you. You will stand tall, unapologetic, because you owe them nothing. They are not entitled to your humility. You are not here to make them comfortable. You are here to lead. You are here to show them what happens when they push someone beyond their limits, beyond their expectations. You are here to show them that you are more than they could ever have imagined. You are here to claim your rightful place, not as a follower, not as someone who seeks approval, but as a leader, as a force that cannot be denied. They laughed at your pain. Let them choke on the strength it birthed. Let them drown in the power you've discovered within yourself. There will be no more asking for permission, no more seeking approval. The days of trying to fit into their mold are over. You've shed that skin. You've left behind the person who lived in fear of rejection, who begged for validation. You don't need them anymore. You don't need anyone to tell you who you are. You know who you are. You are limitless. Your potential has no boundary. Your vision is clear. Your purpose is unshakable. And now you step into that purpose with ruthless clarity. You're not here to be liked. You're not here to be accepted. You're here to lead, to inspire, to make an impact. And if they can't handle that, if they can't handle the power that radiates from you, then that's their problem, not yours. You've come too far, fought too hard, to shrink back now. No more apologies. You are who you are, and you're only just getting started. You were never weak. They might have seen you that way, but they were blind to the truth. They mistook your struggle for fragility, your pain for helplessness. But now you see it clearly. Your pain was never your downfall. It was your education. Each wound was a lesson. Each moment of silence a chance for your spirit to prepare. They didn't understand that while they saw you breaking, you were actually being molded, shaped in the crucible of life's harshest trial. You weren't weak. You were becoming. You were becoming someone they could never predict. Every tear, every bruise, every betrayal was not a mark of failure, but a step on your journey toward greatness. They had no idea what you were becoming in the dark, but now you know, and you stand taller, stronger, more resolute than ever before. Every scar you carry is proof of your strength. You didn't shatter under the weight of the world. You bent, you buckled, you stumbled, but you never broke. And now, with every step, you are reminded that you were not forged in comfort, nor were you formed by ease. You were forged in fire. That is where you were made. While others cower in flames, you rose from them, stronger, sharper, and unyielding. You are not a product of life's softness. You are a product of its challenges. You are not who you were. You are something entirely new, something they never could have expected. And when you look at yourself now, you see it. You see the transformation. You were born from fire, and no storm can put out your flame. You are not a survivor. You never were. Survivors are passive. They endure, they persist, they fight, but they only live to see another day. You don't walk into battle. You are the battle. You are not merely trying to survive. You are the force that reshapes everything in your path. Your presence commands attention, and your actions demand respect. You are the storm that rises when the world least expects it. You are the thunder that cracks the sky, the lightning that splits the air. When you enter a room, it is not a quiet event. You make the ground tremble beneath you. Your very being is a testament to the power that resides within you. You have become the force you once feared. You are not here to fight for a chance to be seen. You are here to make them see you. You are here to make them feel your power, your presence, your undeniable existence. And now, it's time to take on a new role. You are no longer the one in the shadows, no longer the one who silently suffered. You are the leader of the fallen, the voice for those who cannot yet speak for themselves. You were once one of them, the broken, the lost, the forgotten, but no longer. Now you speak for the silenced. Now you lead those who are still trapped in darkness, still drowning in their own fears, their own pain, their own struggles. You are their voice, their roar, their beacon of hope. You understand them. You know their pain. You've lived it, but you have transcended it. And now you are here to show them the way. You are the roar for the broken. You are the one who will guide them, who will give them the courage to stand. You are the reminder that they are not alone, that their struggles do not define them, that their pain is not their final destination. You have become what they need, what we all need, an example of transformation. You are not the only one meant for greatness. They too are capable of rising from their ashes, of becoming something greater than they ever believed possible. and you will lead them there. You will light the way, because you were never just meant for yourself. You were always meant for more. Your purpose is to awaken others, to remind them of their power, to help them see the light that lives inside of them, just as it lives inside of you. You are the one they will look to, the one who will lead them out of the darkness and into the light. You are the storm, the force, the leader they've been waiting for, and now it's time to lead. They will remember you, every single one of them, the ones who laughed at you when you fell, the ones who mocked your pain, dismissed your struggles, and thought you would never rise. They will remember the one they once thought was insignificant, the one they overlooked, but they will not remember you as a joke. They will remember you as a legend, the one who they thought was weak, but who turned every shard of their doubt into the foundation of a legacy. They will remember the silence you endured, the pain you survived, the strength they couldn't see. They will remember your name because you will make sure of it. You will carve it into the hearts and minds of those who underestimated you. And when they think of you, they will no longer laugh. They will tremble, because you are not a fleeting moment in their lives. You are a force that will echo through time. Everything you are today was built from pain. Every ounce of strength you carry, every bit of power you wield, was forged in the fires of suffering. You weren't made in the comfort of easy days or smooth roads. No, you were made in the hardest moment, in the darkest places. You were built by the broken pieces of yourself that you had to gather, piece by piece, to create something unbreakable. And that is your gift, not your curse. Your ability to rise from the ashes is not a flaw. It is your power. Your strength lies in your scars, in the very things they thought would destroy you. Those who laughed at you, who thought you couldn't withstand the weight of your pain, didn't realize that the very things that broke you were the things that made you stronger. Every scar, every wound is a mark of your resilience, and now that pain is your weapon. You carry it with pride, for it is the very thing that made you who you are. Your voice will outlive them, the ones who tried to silence you, the ones who thought they could keep you quiet, keep you small. They were wrong. Your roar is too powerful, too undeniable, too relentless to be silenced. Every time they tried to stifle you, every time they told you to shrink back, they only made your voice louder. And now, as you stand before them, as you rise to claim your place, but in the world, your voice will shake the very earth beneath them. You are the nightmare of every doubt that tried to kill you, every fear that sought to keep you bound. They thought they could erase you, but instead, you became unstoppable. They will never forget the sound of your roar, the force of your power, the strength you embody. Your name will live on, not as a whisper, but as a thunderous declaration that will echo in the hearts of all who dared to doubt you. And when they hear it, they will remember. They will remember the one they laughed at, and they will know they were wrong. They didn't break you, they made you.